It's your boy Kuda Brown, the chef. Dumplings so good, I should get head for this motherfucking shit here. So check it out. Get your flour. I eyeball it. But you want a decent amount to start you off with. Oh boy, if it was that cocaine, motherfucker be rich. Then you gotta get your seasoning in there. Boom. Seasoning salt. The El Patron. You gotta season your flour. Otherwise, it's gonna be rough. You can over season it, make it too salty. But for the most part, I don't. I just sift it. I don't use a sifter and all that shit you see on TV. For this amount of flour, probably use, let's see what I got. Use 2 eggs. Get them cracky-yacky. Eggs work good. Get the spoon. Add you some water. Now when you add the water, you want it, you're making a thicker paste. You don't want it runny. I just put this in here so I can mix the eggs up. And it doesn't take a lot of water for this flour. But you want it thick. You'll see as I pull it out. And then I just mix it all up. You want a thick paste. You don't want it runny. If it sticks to the rolling pin, then it's too watery. You definitely want your flour on here to be dry. It rolls out way better. Much better. I usually just scrape it all off on there. From the bottom, the whole 9. Then you have to put a little flour. I broke my cutting board, so I just go right on my wood table. It's oak. It'll hold. Spread that flour around on the table real good. You don't want to, if it's sticking to the table, then you just add a little more flour. So then you go to hand texture. It's just a feel. If it's sticking to your finger like this, you need to add a little more flour. A little bit at a time. But the thing is, when you add a little flour, you want to add a little more seasoning as well. It's really hard to season them once they're done. So you want to try to get you a sweet spot. If you cook them with no seasoning, I mean, you can eat them. It'll be a harder chew. And You just mix it. Put your ball out like that. I know y'all like, I can't see the whole thing. How much do you have to see to get the gist of it? Okay. All this loose shit right here, you just pile that shit on. Take it off your fingers. This is almost textbook perfect. I'm not as good as my grandmother used to be. God rest her soul, and believe it or not, dumplings taste good the next day to me. Once it's been soaked up all the broth. Now the thing is, when you make your dumplings, you make the broth according to your taste. Me, I like kind of a less watery kind. I don't eat dumplings with a lot of juice. A lot of people like the broth. I don't. And also, I don't cut up the chicken. And then it just looks raggedy as hell. I do remove the skin off the chicken thigh, but I leave the chicken thighs whole. See how that meshes? See how that is? And you'll know when you get to rolling it out. You just put all that loose. And you might have to make, depends on, if you cook the whole family pack. I cooked 6 of them. If you cook the whole family pack, then you might have to make you about 3 or 4 of these, unless you can make them really big. But you want to make enough that it fills up the entire broth. You want the dumplings to be barely moving, and you don't stir. You just kind of dip in there like this. So I add a little more flour to the table. You can roll that in there like that. Some people use biscuits. I know. They've been watching Rachel Roy. I don't know who the heck they. Martha Stewart maybe. Then you get out. So this is about the size I have. And then, of course, you just roll it. You know, like a pizza. See, it's not really sticking to the rolling pin, which is what you want. And if it does, you can add flour to just a particular area. But usually when it does, I just flip it over and I spread it around on the table. And I do the other side. See, it's got a little bit, sticking a little bit. So I just add just a smidge of flour. You want just enough where it doesn't stick, really. That's it. Move it out the way. And you just roll it till it doesn't, you don't want it to stick on the rolling pin, and you don't want it to stick on the table or your cutting board. See, when it pulls up like this. Almost picture perfect. Might need just a smidge on this spot. See how I got that nice golden color? That's from the eggs.